There it is, getting started. Hello, everybody. That's right. We're wheeling, we're dealing, we're winding, we're grinding. And if you click that little subscribe button, you're going to be finding. I am your neighborhood friendly coach, promoter, trainer, 43-year-old professional wrestler, Zack, primetime Reeb, and I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, as always, the 6', 12-inch wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, midday. Beautiful midday. What
That's right.
is up?
Oh man, we don't get to do this very often, man. When it's just the middle of the day, the sun's still out. I can kind of see it off in the distance over here. You've got a little behind the back sunshine, so we're doing well, man. But man, we're right off the heels of recording a little bit of our Patreon stash, the Beyond the Paywall. Where it's I don't know, the brutal talk, the realistic talking wrestling and talking about the things that we don't like the most, and and it's comical to an extent.
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about is we've been watching a lot of matches, right? Like I just watched clips because I don't pay for the pay-per-view, the all-in AEW all-in in Texas, and there's a spot that everybody's talking about with Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay, and the Young Bucks, and I watched it in loop around, 12 super kicks, double Canadian destroyers, no sell, double whammy moves, and then everybody lays on their back and sells, and the crowd goes crazy. First off, for that spot, that audience loves it, right? They love it. That's what they love. So that's what they do. So they are accommodating to their audience. What they are not accommodating for is storytelling and a chance to sell maneuvers and give away all these finishers and everything. And I've been watching a lot of stuff on social media lately, and a lot of matchups that, as a promoter, I ran into this with the Prospects brand. We run into this with the Young Lions Cup too when that was going on, is you have a lot of young talent. And young talent, inexperienced young talent, and inexperienced young talent does not always make for magic in front of the audience. And one thing I just really been noticing, and I wanted to dive into, because we've really never talked about this on the show. We just watched a match that we both checked out, and it was a less than a 6-minute contest. And 4 minutes into this contest, the competitors were at a double down. And I just wanted to, I want to get your point of view on it too, but the double down is something that I feel, just like that long forearm exchange at the end, a lot of people are doing it, but the double down, I feel, it should not happen in anything less than 10 minutes, man. If you're going to peak up in 15, anything 15 minutes and over, especially competitive, it makes sense that both guys are physically exhausted at the end, especially a baby double down if you get that opportunity. But there's always the aggressor, right? Whether it's baby or whether it's heel baby, there's always the aggressor, the aggressive baby that's on top of the heel because the audience wants to get behind the other baby face. He becomes the bigger baby face in this match, and the other baby face becomes the aggressive babyface. So even in the scenario of a double down, double clothesline, double fucking cross body, whatever, in that scenario, one guy is going to get up fresher than the other guy. So just talk to me a little bit about the double down, man, because I got more to say about it. But basically what I'm trying to say is that there's an aggressor, there's a double down. The double down to me is usually the baby face finally catching the move, like the heel cuts off the baby. It's basically the baby cutting off and slowing down the heel just enough so he can get just enough life back in him to have some fight on a dazed heel.
Absolutely. And I think, you put minutes, you put a time on it. I always think about a double down as going to be, the heel is beating up the baby face, and the baby face is trying to, gain that sympathy and get the audience to start getting behind him, rally behind him a bit. And then something happens, like you said, like it's just like you're shutting down the baby face, but it comes the opposite, where it's a big devastating move that happens kind of out of nowhere to the heel, and then they're down and they're selling, and you're hoping that the baby face would probably maybe get up first, right? Because they didn't just get hit with this move. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes the guy that just got hit with the move is up first. And in a lot of cases, it doesn't make sense, because you're thinking like normally the heel is just beating up the baby face. It's not like you're hitting them with all these huge moves, right? You don't want to kill this guy and make it look like you're kicking the shit out of him, and then you're going to give him some sort of big move out of that. I feel like a lot of times as the heel, it's like you're just trying to wear this guy down. You're making his energy meter go down. It's not like I'm hitting the guy with a power bomb, then a pile driver, and a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden he's going to be able to just pop up out of nowhere and hit me with something big, right? It's going to be just wearing him down and then get caught with something, right? Get caught with something that rings your bell, that puts you down for a bit, right? And then obviously the babyface is tired as well, so they're laying down as well, right? They're trying to regain their energy meter, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's the way that I look at it. And obviously, you say 10 minutes. I think that's an awesome kind of baseline to say. Like 10 minutes is probably about what it should be in order to have a double down within the match, right? You don't want to have a 5-minute match and have a double down in there, because it's like, are you going to be able to put enough heat on a guy to tire him out? I think about UFC, right? They're going 5-minute rounds. It's like, is a guy going to be so tired that he can't get up off of his stool after 5 minutes? Probably not, especially if you're, in theory, you're in condition to be in a wrestling ring or UFC octagon or whatever. So I definitely see your point on those things moving forward. What else do you have to say about this topic?
Well, it all depends too what the babyface does on the way back, right? Like if the babyface has come back after that short little double down or whatever, if his comeback isn't believable, if he's not building up to a bigger, bump, building up to a bigger bump, and then why is the bad guy's meter down? You know what I mean? He's selling a stunned shot. That's something subtle that happened, so that, a lot of times the way I would explain it, and it doesn't have to be done this way. It was just, a lot of things I'm saying is like, we're feeding you the baby Gerber. Now you're crawling. Now you're walking. Now you can get a light, brisk jog. So I would always tell someone, okay, whatever you cut the baby face off with, in turn, you're going to go back to that move after you beat them down a little bit, because you go, well, he was fresh, and I hit him with this spine buster, right? I hit him with this spine buster, and that stopped him. I was able to hang on the ropes, get up, catch my breath, look around at the fans, and realize now I'm in control. So in my mind, psychologically, I'm thinking, okay, that stopped him when he was fresh. I've been in control. He's been fighting from underneath. So what am I going to do? Of course, you got your finishing move, but what am I going to do? That spine buster worked early on and shut this guy down. So now that he's tired and I've wore him out for 3 to 5 minutes or whatever, I'm going to spine buster this guy again, because now if I spine buster him, the victory is mine as long as I hook the leg with a proper cover. And I go for that spine buster, and this guy floats through and hits me with the German or counters, do a DDT or whatever. And I tell people too, it's okay to use your finishing move to come back, because if the babyface counters and hits his finishing move, he's been hurt, so he's not going to be able to dive onto a cover or get a good cover anyways. So it shows that his finishing move stopped this heel enough so that he could get back up, and now we're an even playing field, or now I have the advantage. So it does matter what the baby does. And if the heel doesn't put a believable beatdown on the babyface, and he's going to get no sympathy anyway. So this double down thing, I hate it when both guys are equally doubled down and the referee's up to like anywhere from 7 to 9, and both guys come up at the same time and start exchanging. Because it's like, no, somebody was in control here. So if the guy who was in control isn't up first, trying to be in a dominant position first, throwing that first strike, he's kind of a pussy.
Absolutely. And I know we were talking about how when you're the heel and you're putting the beat down on this guy, that it can't be you can't be smothering the guy, right? You have to give the guy an opportunity to sell a little bit, right? Because obviously, if you're not letting them sell, the fans have no idea how much this beating is taken out of them, right? Because you're just right on top of them the whole time. So, letting a guy sell and that goes right into working the crowd, right? While you're letting the guy sell, you're antagonizing the crowd as well, right? You're trying to build more heat, so now this babyface gets more sympathy, because not only are you beating them up, but now these people think that you're an asshole on top of that. So it just, it helps you out in what you're trying to accomplish when you're trying to get the babyface some sympathy, right? If the fans also dislike you. So, and I don't know, and I think that's always a good avenue to, you're talking shit to the crowd. That gives the crowd an opportunity to kind of get behind it, the babyface, and there's an opportunity for him to start fighting back, get a little hope spot in there, right? And then you can shut him down whenever you feel like he's got enough, a little bit of a hope in there. Then you shut him down, right? then you get back on it, just like you said, right? He hits you with something, you cut him off, you sell the fact that you got hit with something until you kind of regain your composure. Now you're right back on the attack, right? But there has to be those little spots in there where there is a little bit of breathing room, right? I can push as the babyface, I can push you off, I can whatever, do something where now I can walk into something, whether it's a punch or if it's, a kick or whatever, something. You have a little bit of space for that. And it's like, if you're smothering the babyface the whole time, they don't have an opportunity to sell. They don't have an opportunity to gain sympathy.
How am I going to get you over on commentary, if a company even has commentary? How am I going to get you over? We talked about it with Drake Nelson, right? He said, you're wrestling in front of 50, 100 fans, but that camera lens puts you in front of so many more, right? There's so many more. We were watching matches. I wasn't in these towns watching these matches, but I have access to them on social media. So how am I going to tell this audience we're trying to sell this product, right? Whatever indie company, insert indie company here locally. Let's go NorCal, just insert indie company here. You're putting something out, whether it's a good product, it's a bad product, it's got commentary. We don't know the fucking story. Who gives a shit? You're putting something out for us, the consumer, the viewer, the social media audience to watch. Okay, say we have commentary. If you don't have time to sell and the commentary, you do commentary for us. If you and Doc don't have time to tell us who the fuck this guy is, his accomplishments, why this match is happening, he's in control. If you can't tell us, the viewing audience on the other side of this shit, who these people are, and we don't have time, you don't give us time to say anything, because if we say it while you're doing it, then nobody pays attention to it anyways. You're trying to sell your product, and your product are the guys in the ring. And the guys that are doing your commentary are the guys that in reality, you believe that this guy is going to paint the best picture so that the audience watches this and they go, okay, I get the backstory. I get who he is. I get what their accomplishments is and where they're going. Yes, I'd like to watch some more of this product. And it's like what we try to get. Hit that subscribe button, right? So I feel that you need to sell for that reason. I also feel you can't build any sympathy behind somebody that is just straight up getting his ass handed to him. Let him breathe. Let him crawl up the ropes. When he gets into a position where you believe he might become dangerous again or stand a chance, lay it to him. But let your heat settle. Let the guy sell your heat. And if he ain't going to sell your heat, go ahead and kick the fucking shit out of him, right?
Of course. Yeah, so you're talking about the production stuff, and if you don't have a commentary team, I feel like there's some good avenues. If you're going to record your product and there isn't a commentary team, or there's not someone like in our case that records it and then puts out episodes of product with commentary on it after the fact. I always like to have a hard cam view of what's going on. It's really for me to have in an effort to be able to send the matches to the guys that wrestled them, right? Hey, here's the raw footage of your match, right? Critique it yourself, try to get better, things like that. But if it's something that you're putting out as your your YouTube channel or something that's going to represent your company, what are some things that you can do that don't take too much time, but kind of get that point across? How you were just saying that the commentary guys, that's their job, right? To tell the story, tell the backstory, things like that. What are some things, like, in your opinion, that could help elevate that to put it where people may watch something on YouTube and go, oh shit, you're like, I didn't know that was going on, or hey, I didn't know that that's what these guys were fighting for. I want to go to the next show. I'm going to be in attendance at the next one. How can you draw in those fans if you don't have commentary? What are the things that you could do on your production to kind of make that happen?
Well, first off, slow the fuck down if you don't have any commentary. Second off, some shithead has a cell phone or a camera and is filming this, or there's just a hard cam sitting up. So if you only have a hard cam, if you have fans in the building that are filming this, or like some guys do, they have a page and they throw it up, work to that person, because we say this is where our money is, right? Well, if this is where our money is, then why aren't we showing our money? You know what I mean? You can't go to the fucking Texas Hold'em or the poker table and walk up there and be like, I'm ready to play. And they're like, well, what are you going to bet? You're like, where's your money? And you go, oh, I don't have any money. I'm not going to show you my money. And like, well, hop on in. Here's a chance to win a bunch of money, and you can gamble with no money for free. But that's the thing. If you don't have the production, you might not want to air the product. And it's not knocking anybody, but you want to air the most professional product that you can. And the most important part of this with the production stuff I'm talking about is I've seen fan cams and I've seen raw footage, and I've watched a lot of my matches over the years on that stuff. It's not, I can't watch and critique myself as good as I can when the cameras are actually, there's production and they're in there close and tight. I watched a match I had the other day from a fan cam, a wide cam, and I was like, God, I'm moving slow. This sucks. I was picking myself apart. But then I saw the close-up edited version, and it was down at your show of it, and I was like, oh, now that we're inside the ropes and we're live here, the action picks up. So what you're seeing from a fan cam, what you're seeing from the hard cam shot the whole time is a completely different critique and a completely different watch than if you're watching it as it's closely filmed and edited afterwards. So a lot of these matches that we're watching online, we can see it's moving too fast, but we're not close enough into the action. So we're seeing it from the fans' perspective, which that fans' perspective and the performer's perspective are night and fucking day, right? Like I'm sitting here going, man, that street fight went too long, and it was the never-ending story. Get on the dragon and fly away. And then the fans' perspective was, man, that was the greatest match I've ever seen. It's different. So where you come back to the locker room thinking, man, my shit sucked, there's people in the crowd that are waiting to get your autograph at intermission or after the show going, you're the most amazing competitor of all time. And that's the beauty of the fan. And that's why we try not to cross the fans over into the business. Yeah, we want you to be at the fan fest. We want you to like our shit. We want you to comment on our shit. We want all this stuff that the fans do. We just don't want to interact with you until it makes sense to interact with you. Because if you're my friend watching my comedy show, you're going to laugh just to support me. But that doesn't mean that I'm funny.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great analogy, man. I feel like I've heard that from a lot of comedians that they say when you first start doing this, man, don't get out there and don't invite all your friends, because then you're going to get a false sense of, of reality. You're going to get that, I'm your friend, so I'm going to laugh at your jokes and things like that. And obviously that's also something that happens in pro wrestling. You have, your friends that maybe they follow you around, maybe they just come to all the shows, and it gives you that false sense of reality that oh, I'm an awesome worker, I'm really over, and things like that. And we've talked in the past about the way you can really tell, are you a good worker, are you over, can you get yourself over, is can you go to a promotion that's never seen you before and get that same type of reaction, right? These guys aren't just going to come and chant your normal chants, or they're not going to get behind the things that your friends say as kind of the inside joke. They're not going to be doing those type of things because they don't know who you are. You have to actually go out and engage them, and you have to get into your character. You need to get your character over and tell the story that you're trying to tell. But getting back to the, I feel like we watch so much of this, the wrestling that we see, especially in our, in the NorCal area, most of the time, I think for me, it's, I love watching wrestling, right? Bad or good. I love watching wrestling because I feel like I'm going to get something out of it regardless, right? If it's a good wrestling match, I'm going to get a lot of good takeaways of how someone was working the crowd. Maybe they're working a specific body part, and I like the things that they're doing. But on the other side, obviously, I love to watch bad wrestling as well. I love to watch the things that I go, why the fuck would that guy do that? Or what was this guy thinking? Or things like that. You know, a lot of times it's, you know, you got newer guys, right? They go out there and they think they're doing a great job, right? Because they're out there, you know, playing wrestler, and that's their dream. And they go out there and they're living the dream. They're out there playing wrestler, but and that's all well and good, man. But you know, I always think it's like you're gonna play wrestler and you're gonna fulfill this dream the best way you can by trying to improve, trying to put the best product out there. And you know, and some of the stuff that we watch, we have no there's no content. We don't know what the scenario is. Why are these two guys wrestling? What is the conflict between these two guys? You know, there's a finish to a match that doesn't make sense because you have no context. You don't know, like, why are these guys fighting? Why would this scenario happen? Like, you know, why would a guy get a sneaky victory? Why would the guy cheat to win? You know, what's going on in this promotion? So, you know, I asked you that question earlier, kind of with it loaded in my head of my answer. And I think a lot of times for me, it's like, if there was some sort of promo beforehand that kind of, you know, laid out the story, you know, if there's not going to be commentary to tell you what's going on and explain the story and things like that, if there was a promo beforehand, if there was a few clips to kind of lead you into that, and you've talked about it before, you know, becoming a video editor is becoming increasingly easier. You know, everybody has some sort of app on their phone or their computer that's making editing a little bit easier. So, you know, throwing some of those things in there as a little bit of a backstory, I think is going to be beneficial for us in general to get people to go, oh, that's what's going on in this promotion. You know, these guys are in a 3 or 4 month feud, and you know this the next show is potentially going to be the culmination. You know, the end of this feud. You know, this is what's going to settle the score. So if you're able to put that stuff together, well, people can go, oh, you know, this is what happened the first time these guys wrestled, and then they wrestled again, and this happened, and there's some controversy and, you know, different things kind of to lay out the story, get me interested in watching that. Why would I want to come to your show and buy a ticket to watch your wrestling if I don't really have a backstory? I don't have any context of what's going on. There's no story for me to get interested in or excited about. I think a lot of times that's the downfall, right? We want to put stuff online because we want people to see it, but if it's not interesting, if it's just two guys wrestling and you have no idea why they're wrestling or you know what's happening, then you don't really get that interested. But if there's some sort of backstory, you can get hooked on it.
Well, you have to find the camera as the professional, right? You have to execute. You have to throw believable heat. You have to sell. You have to make the comeback. You have to execute to finish the story of what you're trying to accomplish out there. And we get caught so much in this stuff where it's like the guys that make the money, the guys that are successful. I was talking about that tag team spot earlier, which I think that would have been a great spot to go to the finish. You know what I mean? Like, let it all go at the end. Let it all go. Then it would have made more sense for all those super kicks and destroyers and stuff if it would have been the very end, because they wrestled for 25, 30 fucking minutes. So they're doing these moves, but they're fatigued, right? So it's the execution of what you're trying to pull off. If you cannot execute, and I say this to people all the time, you didn't get over what you were trying to get over. You didn't tell the story you were trying to tell. And in turn, it's just the execution of it. You didn't execute well. You didn't find the fucking camera. They go, oh, the camera guy needs to come over and get these shots. And we talk about the camera guys a lot. But you as the performer need to find the camera guy. You need to find that extra shot. And that's what people aren't realizing is if you only got 50 fans at your show, who gives a shit, right? If you're going to put something on social media, put something good out there on social media. Put out a good product because this is your representation of yourself. I ain't saying shit wrong about anything. You know, I talked the other podcast about the Ugly Dojo kids, and they're making these highlight videos and editing and learning stuff, even if they're just using with their phone. But they're promoting themselves and they're taking the best shots of themselves from shows and throwing that out there. So it's watchable. They're putting out a minute and a half to 2 minutes of a watchable highlight of themselves. And if you are going to, I see a lot of shots where it's from the hard cam and that's all you get on their thing, or it's from a fan cam. Well, if you're going to do that, then you need to figure out in that match, if this guy is over here and he's the guy filming this and the only camera is a fan or the hard cam, you got to find a way to get into the hard cam or roll out of the ring and work over to the hard cam so you can get a closer shot of yourself so you have content. If you don't have production, find a way to get some up close content and get in that hard cam and go, because that's what I'm doing here tonight, baby, live here and whatever. So you have something that you can promote of decent quality online. That's all I'm trying to say. I was talking to you about it earlier. We're going to Carson City this weekend, right? We're getting close. And I told you, I said, when we come to a new town, babies up. Babies, 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 babies. Send them home happy. It's our first time there. They don't know who the fuck is who. They don't know none of the stories. So establish who the heels are and send the babies up. Send the babies up. Get the babies up. That way, when you come back a second time, the heels have a little bit of something to work with, and the audience has seen them before. And then let a couple heels get a couple heel wins. You know, still baby dominant, but let a couple heels establish themselves as the heels and send them home happy again. And then you come back that third time to that town, babies up, except for who's ever going to be your biggest heel, he sends them home miserable. And that's how you establish these things when you go places like babies up all night long. Yay, we love wrestling in Carson City. Can't wait to come back. Hopefully you have flyers and an announcement for a return date. They go, man, this was fun. We loved it. Then they come back the second time after they've seen a couple of these heels and they go, that no good rot bastard. That other no good rotten. Oh, but we went home happy again. Yay. Now you've established a couple heels. Now you figure out which one of those heels are we going to really put on the back of this company on our third trip to this town that we just started in. And we send babies up again and make them happy all night. And then the heel fucking pisses them off at the end of the night. And now they go, that's the guy I hate through 3 shows the most. This is the guy I love the most. Now I have one match going into our 4th performance at this venue now. Our 4th show at this venue, and now I want to see this heel wrestle this baby face, and I'm willing to pay for that shit. So it's that you got to just naturally move this stuff along, man. You got to naturally let these guys get in front of that camera, man. Like I said earlier, you got to find the camera. You have to sell. You have to deliver believable heat. You have to have a good comeback, and you have to execute, not just the finish. We always talk about that's the most important thing. You got to execute from curtain to curtain. And if you can't do that, then you're gonna have a rough time in our line of work.
Absolutely. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day just about getting that balance, right? So how do you become a good wrestler? obviously we get into the professional wrestling business because we want to be in the ring, we want to wrestle, we want to entertain people, we want to do that part of it, right? But we also have to be in situations where we can be learning from people that are better than us, you know. And I know that there's an odd balance with that. You know, I constantly say this, and I just heard about like Cooper Flag saying, if you're the best guy in the gym, you need to find a new gym, right? Same feeling I have with pro wrestling, right? If you're the best guy on the card, if you're the best guy at the promotion, you probably need to find somewhere else to go to find people that are better than you so you can challenge yourself. But it's a double-edged sword, right? Because there always has to be a best person at the venue, at the promotion, at the show, right? You have to have a best person. So the argument is, well, there has to be a best person there. So what if I just happen to be the best person there, right? You know, and the argument is, you know, you want to go somewhere else, right? I want to go somewhere. You know, I've always thought, like, if I could go somewhere where I'm the worst guy in the locker room, right? I'm the shittiest guy there. Then I have everyone else to learn from, and I have everyone else to get critiques from, and everyone else is going to try to help me get better. So how do you balance that, right? I know that there's the that NorCal United event coming up, right? There's going to be a ton of knowledge being given out. So, you know, how do you prioritize that over the thing that you get into the professional wrestling business to do, which is have wrestling matches? You know, like, where do you kind of, how do you prioritize, you know, the opportunities to learn versus the opportunities to go in and work a wrestling match, the reason that we got into the business?
Well, here's the thing, man. Whoever your coach, trainer, whatever the fuck, wherever you trained at, all this stuff, man. The truth is this. I was talking to Ethan Reno this morning before the gym. And I said, man, you're a big kid, man. You're 6'2", 260 pounds, played 4 different sports. You played 4 years of high school, right? And he goes, yeah. I go, and all that, the 4 years you played in high school, that wasn't good enough to get you into even a junior college to play football. You're big enough. Why? Because you didn't work hard enough. You didn't work hard enough in the gym. You didn't work hard enough on your nutrition. You didn't work the extra reps on off the field when you needed to. You didn't study the tape religiously. And you got to think about it. To play 4 years of high school football and get into a okay college, you know, a lot of people do that. How hard is it to get in a top 10 college, right? To even set yourself up to go to the NFL. And how many people have made it to the combines in the NFL, and there's all these years, but then you look at that guy and you go, oh, fuck, Barry Sanders. He even retired early, right? Barry Sanders. What the fuck was Barry Sanders doing to become Barry fucking Sanders, man? He was every single day from probably Pop Warner, man. This kid was fucking, he was doing it. He was doing it, man. And I always tell everybody that I'm almost 44 and I'm still religiously doing this stuff. Religiously every day, from promoting to training people. And when I say training, I mean I'm training and going to these shows and all this stuff. But I'm doing it at a different thing now. Like, what my goal for what I'm doing all this for now is for something else. Like, everybody's heading towards these big cities and these big companies. I'm heading up 99, man. I'm heading up 99 to these towns that ain't got no. I have a different thing that I'm working really hard to do. So we always talk about it with basketball, and you always talk about it with your daughters. You're like, are you counting the amount of swishes you're making or the amount of baskets you're making? And she's like, no, I'm counting the swishes. I don't care if it rattles around and goes in and that makes 10 in a row. That ain't 10 in a row because I'm perfecting my craft and I'm working on it every day. There are so many people that one day of training you miss to go swimming during the summer or go camping that weekend. That's that one day that there's, even if it's one other fucking person out there with the same dream that's willing to not go camping and swimming, and they tell their family, sorry, can't make it, I'm doing this. And that person is the person that's going to do it. And one quick thing, because I know you're going to touch on this real quick. I've seen so many people come and go through my business, my actual business, and so have you, that are big, athletic, look good, a lot of talent. Everybody's got talent. It's the guy that shows up that is willing to get himself in better shape, the arsonists of the world that are willing to lose that 125 pounds and get off the heart monitor. And next thing you know, you go, I got rid of 5 guys that everyone was like, man, that was a superstar talent, or they think they're a superstar talent, which is the worst thing for a wrestler to think that they're great. And now you have this guy that you never even expected to be your best talent to come out of there. And the most humble, out of shape guy who you never expected to be anything in 2 years ends up trumping everybody else.
Absolutely. It just, I'm kind of grinning over here because this is a conversation that I had last night with one of my daughters. I picked her up from open gym. I said, how was it? She goes, it was just me and one other girl there with the coach. And I said, well, this is a great lesson, right? This is the time that you think back on when somebody says you're a good basketball player because you're tall. You're a good basketball player because your dad knows how to play basketball. All of these things that you can look back at this one instance and you can say, no, I'm good at basketball because I don't miss opportunities to go to open gym, right? And that's like every opportunity you have, you go to the gym, you get in whatever work you can get in, right? Whether it's just you and somebody else and the coach, or if it's 10 other people there, right? These are those things. And you hear Kobe Bryant talking about getting an extra session or 2 each day, and how over time that, just separates you so much from everybody else, so for my daughters, this is the lesson, it's like, you're putting in so much more time than everyone else. So at the end of the road, when it's time to go to college and people are saying, oh, you're only good because you're tall, you'll know in the back of your head, that's not the correct, that's not really what's going on. I'm this good because I put in the effort. I put in the time. I don't miss repetitions. And we talk about that all the time. And, we're talking about wrestling school. And I remember one day that you told me everyone stays in the ring, because if you let people get out of the ring, they get out, they're on their phone, they miss their turn that round or whatever. And it's like, all right, so there's a repetition you missed right there. So then when it comes down to who gets to get put on shows and stuff like that, it's like, I'm putting the guy on the shows that didn't miss any reps, right? I'm not putting those guys on the show that you go, oh, you're here most of the time. It's those things. And I always talked about it with college recruiting. It's like, you think about all of the things that go into whatever you're trying to accomplish. And, I would tell people, like, the coaches are looking at all those things and they're going to ask questions of your coach. Say, hey, does he come to every open gym? Does he come to every practice? When it comes to schooling, what are they doing? Are they taking it seriously? Do they slack off? Do they sit in the front of class? All these different things, right? And all of these little things could be the difference, right? It could be, hey, I've got a 3.5 grade point average, and I'm maybe not quite as good as this other person, but they've only got a 2.5 or a 2.2 or whatever, where a coach looks at you and go, oh shit, man, I'm going to have to stay on this dude's ass to make sure he goes to class, where this other kid maybe isn't quite as good, but there's no worry about being ineligible or anything like that. So, you're talking about it in the wrestling sense of not missing repetitions, getting every opportunity to get in there. And, sometimes it's effort over talent, right? You could be super skilled, or you could have the guy that gives you the most effort. And most of the time, the guy that gives you the most effort is the guy that you're kind of go, this is the dude I'm going with right here.
Yeah. You know what I've never heard? I've never heard people say Shotzi Blackheart is a problem in the locker room. Thunder Rosa, Will Hobbs, Brian Cage, Tim Thatcher, fucking Jacob Fatu. You don't hear that these people that we know, Ryan Tran, Bruce Bukaki, you don't, J.R. Kratos, man, you don't hear that these guys that end up getting jobs from NorCal, the one thing you know about them that I know about them, Jody Christopherson. I know they're good people, right? Like I rode with these guys. I know these guys. And you know what about those guys? Not just that they're likable. Will Hobbs was $175 when I first met him as Will Rude. We called him Downtown Chauncey Brown. You know what I mean? He was just he was the same height, but he was like $175, man. He had no muscle. And look at him now. Brian Cage. People could say all day, like, Brian gets his shit in and he does too much stuff for what big guys shouldn't do. Well, you know what that motherfucker's done for 25 years? Because I've been in the car with him. The car smelled like tilapia fish and cold vegetables. Because it doesn't matter where Brian was. Brian was eating healthy. Brian was hitting the gym. That guy, to consistently look like that for all those years, I'll tell you what a lifestyle that guy's committed himself to. Thunder Rosa, she went and started her own promotion. She busted her ass. She put herself out there on social media and showed up places. Jacob Fatu, you look at Roman Reigns, you look at the Usos, you look at Umaga, you look at all these guys from that Samoan bloodline. Who's the one who was out here grinding MLW, the PCW Pacific down there in LA, PCW here, APW all over? Fatu was grinding, bro. He was grinding on the indies, working the best workers. So when they go, man, he's so much better than the rest of the guys, it's because he put in more indie wrestling experience with than the other guys. The Usos, Roman Reigns, they are a WWE product from the ground up. You know what I mean? And you talk about Tim Thatcher. These guys left where they were to go get better. I trained AJ Kirsch how to wrestle, and he's a great wrestler. He's a great performer. But AJ Kirsch, learning this wrestling business, went out and said, you know what? I'm going to make more money not wrestling, using the wrestling platform to use my entertainment and hard work platform to get myself over. So all these people I'm talking about, they're likable people. They listen, they're coachable, and God damn it, man, they went and worked their ass off and are still working their ass off today. They're taking that extra step. And if you ain't willing to do it, if you think you're just going to hang around the indies and do this, and most importantly, if you're out there and you think you know better than the people before you, sorry, man, enjoy making less than $100. Enjoy wrestling in front of not many fans. And I'm not saying that you won't make it, because you could hear me say this or someone else and you could change everything about your training and where you go and your attitude and everything else. But if you're not doing that, you will, and look me in the eyes, you will not make it in the wrestling business unless you find a way to. If you're good at that, maybe, you know what I mean? But you got to put in the work.
Popsicles. If you're good at eating popsicles.
Popsicles. Astro.
That's right. Astro Pops, Missile Pops, all those.
Yeah.
Blow Pops. Yeah, man, it's
Push Pops.
That's it, man. Push Pops, the little suckers that go All those good ones, yeah. But
lick of sticks.
That's it, man. But it's a common denominator with all these people, you know, that we say, oh, made it out of our area, and every time they make it, somebody has to, you know, you have a myriad of people posting photos with, yeah, it was me and this guy at the show, and blah blah. He made it. Congrats, bud. You know, all this stuff. It's like, yeah, you didn't help him. But you know, I was going to get back to the being the best person on the card, right? And there's something about being the best person on the card who's elevating everyone else on the card. You were just talking about Jacob Fatu, right? He's wrestling all these indie companies, all these indie guys, and a lot of times, you know, he's coming in there to elevate whoever their best guy is, right? And I feel like it goes back to the old school Ric Flair stuff, right? Traveling to all the different territories and giving their best guy some credibility, right? Oh, this guy almost beat Ric Flair, right? So now this guy's got some believability. This guy's like, you have some steam behind the guy, and you go, oh, this guy, you know, is something special, right? He almost beat the world heavyweight champion, right? So I think those things are important too. I don't want it to get twisted where it's like you can't beat the best, you can't be the best guy at the promotion, right? Because obviously you need a best guy, but the caveat to that is the best guy needs to be focused on elevating the other guys in that promotion. So then instead of just having one good guy at the promotion, you start elevating other people, and then hopefully the guys that are getting elevated are paying it forward, right? Go somewhere else, elevate some people there. So I always feel like, you know, that is our role in different places. You know, you like to have the number one spot on the card, and it's not because you're a curtain jerker. It's because you're going to elevate someone who's in the, you know, a lower spot on the card. And then you're also going to be able to take your shit off and come out and sit and watch the rest of the show. And we're going to be able to critique and hopefully give guys good feedback and point guys in the right direction, right? Hey, I really like this. Do more of this. I didn't like this. Try to get rid of that. You know, whatever it is, you know, if it's clapping your hands, if it's saying the same promo over and over against, you know, different situations, like if it's not making things, you know, you talked about going to a promotion and what do you say in your promo, and you talk about the last time you were there, and you know, you're going to make some sort of change, and you know, doing things like that. So yeah, I didn't want it to be like you can't be you know, you can't be the best guy at the show, because obviously there has to be those guys. There has to be the top guys at the show, but hopefully it's not an ego thing where you're like, yeah, I'm the best guy here. You know, well, I'm great.
That is terrible, by the way. But if you're saying that in the locker room, it ain't going to happen. But the best guy on the card is the heel that can run through the card and build all the baby faces. Because a baby face is going to have a hot point where if you click on him at the hottest point, he's going to generate an audience if you're doing it the right way, and he's going to make you your money there. He's also going to, if you book him correctly, he's going to have a good chase. He's going to continue to chase, and he's going to continue to draw money. You know, there's few instances with those guys, which are the top guys they say in the business, like Cena and those guys, Hogan. They stuck around a while and sold merchandise and generated, but the best guy on the card is the heel that's going to keep all the baby faces moving around. That heel that can win the belt and build the baby faces up. That heel that can work with the undercard and the opening guys and start to establish them and move them up the card. So when you say who is the best guy on the card, I always say it's the heel that can work the enhancement talent to the early card guy, to the mid card, to the semi-main, to the main, and he can get all those guys over. It's like I was at your show as we're getting close to this. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 minutes remain in this podcast. 5 minutes. We're just zipping through. But like on your show, I haven't had a reason yet coming in as a tag team with Christian and then moving into this ref storyline. And then now I got this going on this weekend, which we'll talk about after it happens. But there hasn't been a reason yet for me to need to get in there with a semi-main event guy or a main event guy, because there hasn't been a need yet for me to get somebody over in that fashion. So right now I'm working my way. Okay, now I worked with the tag division. Okay, now I'm going to move now I'm going to move up the card, and I'm going to start helping build some baby faces. So you got some guys to put up against other heels on the card. So the best guy on the card, 100%, is the heel that unselfishly can go out there and build the baby faces through your entire card, from the jobber all the way to the main event baby face. If you can build everybody on the card, you are the most valuable person on the entire roster.
Absolutely. And I think, I was talking to Sparky about this, that there's so many people that they say they want to be a heel, but they don't want to do the things that a heel does. They don't want to be booed. They don't want to be hated. They don't want to be the guy that's the fans are looking to try to slash their tires. They don't want to take it to that extreme, right? They want to be the likable heel, right? That people are still going to cheer and tell them after the show, oh, you did a great job and things like that. It's like, we need to find those heels that are willing to be hated. You hear so many stories of back in the day, right? People getting piss thrown at them and batteries and getting their tires slashed. And in so many cases, like, hey, somebody slashed all 4 of your tires. And although that's you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get that fixed, a lot of guys are like, yep, I got all 4 of my tires slashed. I'm doing my fucking job, right? So, so it's just, you talk about that being so valuable, and it's valuable when you, I talk about show your ass, right? You have no fear of looking like an idiot out there, right? You have no fear of trying to get into the ring and tripping on the rope. You have no fear of a dude pulling your pants down, slipping on water, whatever. You have no fear of doing those things that are going to get you ridiculed by the fans, right? So not a lot of people like that feeling, right? Everybody, in theory, a lot of people like to be liked, right? They want to be popular. I feel like it comes from a young child perspective, right? You want to be liked, and then when you get to the wrestling business, if you have that about you, where you're able to be able to tolerate being hated, and you can embrace that, that's what makes you a great character, and you can build stuff around those type of characters. With, we talk about Sergio Santana is the closest thing I could think of just right off the top of my head right now, that just comes out the curtain. Music hits, just, chorus of boos. So exciting time, man. We just got 1 minute left here.
Arsonist is one of the guys I'm really enjoying working with. I'm very comfortable in the ring with him. I feel safe. He's got a good base. That's what I'm always looking for, is a good base. So right now, Arsonist is my favorite guy to pair off with and work in the ring of training and when I'm wrestling. So a shout out to him for all that hard work he puts out. That's my guy right there. Quality over quantity. Slow the fuck down. You find the camera. You have to execute. You have to deliver believable heat, and you have to sell properly so that people believe that our heat is believable. And that's all part of pro wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you this weekend in Carson City. Answer the call. I'm excited. I'll be there early. I know the big man will be there early with me. You got anything real quick?
Oh man, this is an opportunity, man. Earn a free year training. See who takes advantage.
We're going over.